We are live.
Bang. You know, it's funny when people talk about Bitcoin being a currency, guys. You know, you expect to see like that Scarface where they're just loading currency into those counters and the bills are just flipping, you know, like that. And instead, you know, if you drop a Bitcoin on your foot, does it hurt?
It's funny you mentioned that because CJ actually has our new video editor working on a nice little meme of like us in that exact scene of the Scarface with like Voyager token. So it's gonna be good.
Let's not give away too much now.
this little teaser.
I like it. I like it. That would be, I mean, for the folks that don't understand what cryptocurrencies are, altcoins as well as Bitcoin, it's something that I think captures their fancy, and then sometimes they just decide it's too difficult, and that's a mistake, obviously. But people like Voyager, you know, who sponsors this show, and PayPal and Square have made it so much easier, because PayPal through Venmo and, you know, their digital side, as well as the Cash App over at Square, these guys really expanded it dramatically, I think, so that you didn't have to be one of you guys, you know, somebody who mined it in your dorm room. You don't have to be somebody like that to sort of get involved. But if you didn't, it's just like the first time you tried to download Napster and use it. You know, it was really tough for those of us who weren't as tech savvy as you guys. But now they've made it so easy. So I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing adoption as strong and as fast as we're seeing it right now.
Yeah, agreed with you. And I actually had a quick point to make about that. Voyager announced their March interest rates. And also last night, there was a Voyager conference call on which Steve Ehrlich kind of went over some of the numbers. And I think it was really encouraging. And I want to take a quick moment to just look at the VGX chart with you guys, because it's I think it's teetering on the brink of a breakout here. So what I look for is good support to the downside. It's got this Bollinger Band that's been holding it strong, but it's been really interesting to see kind of how people really bought the news. And then last night, while the conference call was going on, there wasn't too much price action. It was more kind of trading sideways. So you can see we got this really strong setup resistance here at the all-time high. So I'm watching closely for a breakout above this level. And I think it's really likely, just because of some of the metrics that Steve Ehrlich was talking about last night in terms of the number of users they've onboarded so far in 2020 and the number of funded accounts. They still have a lot of people on the wait list. And he mentioned that he believes that by the end of next week, all those people will be off the wait list. So I think that could be a catalyst. Those new users, like John said, that just maybe not most tech savvy, but Voyager has the benefit of being a very user-friendly app. So it takes the kind of the mystery out of buying crypto. And I think a lot of people will flock to the native token of Voyager Exchange, which is Voyager token. So I'm watching this closely this week, watching for a breakout above this level, because if it does break out, I think it can really run like we've seen it run so far this year.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested in your guys' comments on their token as well, because, oh my gosh, you guys were pushing this one, maybe that's not proper term, but they were certainly highlighting it, folks. You know, it's one of the benefits of being able to be in the room with Matt and CJ is that they were talking about this Voyager token when it was under 10 cents. And that token trades under VGX, Victor Gary X-Ray, and now it's over $6. So maybe, would you mind trying to pull that one up, Matt? Or,
yeah,
you know, to do a chart and maybe take a look at what you see there, because I think it traded through 7, pulled back down, and VGX, one of the use cases for that particular token, folks, is that Voyager actually pays interest on deposited crypto on their site. And some people don't want it on the site. That's fine. Don't have to. But as far as if you leave your crypto on Voyager, they will actually pay you a higher return. I think it gets to 9%, guys. It's either 8 or 9% if you have their token.
Yeah, the way it works is that you get 8.5% API on USDC. But if you hold a certain amount of Voyager tokens, you'll get a 1% boost. And after the token swap, that boost will be all the way up to, I believe, 1.5% or 1.25%. I'm not sure. It's one of those two. But yeah, I mean, we've had, like you said, John, we went over 7. A lot of people have been taking profits above 7. And so the trend is, it's been difficult to kind of break above that primary resistance level at 720 there. But if we do break above that level and go to say 750 or something like that, from a short-term trading perspective, I would be looking to buy that breakout and potentially ride it up some more.
Now, our pal, Mr. Novogratz, the former Princeton wrestler, Mike Novogratz. Hello, Mike. I know he follows us, so who knows, he might be watching. I know he took his target for 2021 to 100,000 guys. There are other people with, very, lofty targets. I know Max Kaiser's somewhere between 75 and 80,000. I think he maybe even defined it down to 77,000 or something like that. But Novo, he did a great job calling it last year, and now he's calling for 100,000 in 2021. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, based on our models, 100,000, 150,000 by the end of 21, early 2022 does seem rather feasible. But that is very contingent on the stock market holding up. I think if something were to happen very drastically, similar to what we saw in March, that would definitely throw a dent in the whole model, and we'd have to reevaluate some things. But essentially where a lot of those people are pulling those projections from is the stock to flow model, whether it be Raoul Pal, Novogratz, or many of these larger macro institutional investors. Sorry, Monty, did you want to add to that?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, actually, is a lot of these macro theses are based on the stock to flow model. And like you said, CJ, a lot of it is contingent on the S&P, but I think this week has kind of brought back some renewed energy into the crypto market. I mean, last week, February, the end of the month was pretty rough, but it's spring now. It's March here in Chicago. The snow is melting a little bit. The sun is poking through, and the bulls are coming back. So it's encouraging to see. I think in the short term, the first big hurdle obviously is breaking above 50K. As you can see on this chart here, we hit some pretty strong resistance after bouncing all the way down to 43K. We hit this psychological resistance of 50K. That's pretty common with Bitcoin, is this psychological profit taking. But CJ, you had some pretty interesting charts about kind of what's driving this whole market right now. So you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, of course. I got 3 charts courtesy of Glassnode Insights. I definitely recommend you guys check them out. We're not affiliated with them anyway, but they're just that good. And so there are 3 primary charts that pretty much illustrate a shift in market dynamics after our recent sell-off to roughly 43K. And so in these terms throughout bull markets, we get periods of speculation where a lot of longs come into the market above 50K or above 55K, trying to ride that leverage. And when we get a sharp correction, they just get puked out of the market. And a lot of those individuals who are in for short-term gains capitulate. And that allows us to go down, create a higher low in the macro trend, and to test long-term hodler sentiment. And so the first one I want to highlight here has to do with Bitcoin futures open interest. And so you can see that futures open interest has dropped almost $4 billion from the peak of 18.4 this week, a reduction of 21.7%. The next one I want to talk about is the Bitcoin futures perpetual funding rate. And this one has also hit a reset. As you can see, we see those 3 red circles. Every time we hit a reset on the perpetual futures funding rates, typically we get a bottom in the trend. And so when we see the perpetual futures funding rates and the combination of decreasing open interest, typically this indicates that a flush out in speculative short-term trading has occurred and increases the likelihood that we've potentially hit a short-term bottom. So very promising to see that from the bullish perspective. And then the last one I want to talk about from Glassnode Insights is the Bitcoin adjusted SOPR. And so the interesting thing about the SOPR is essentially it can indicate coins that were moved on a particular day for a loss, roughly aggregate. And so if we can see in our most recent downtick, we crossed the black line, which is a value of 1. And every time we do cross that black line value of 1, it pretty much indicates that we've hit max pain in terms of short-term sell pressure. As you can see in that yellow circle previously, we didn't quite go down below the value of 1, but we came very close and we bottomed there at roughly 28K after falling from 42K. So seeing that we're in that level, or that we were in that level before yesterday's rally, is a pretty promising sign, and leads me to believe that we're going to go up and test the 50K and potentially even 60K levels in the next coming weeks. So really nice to see bouncing off that 45K Fibonacci level with a combination of those funding rates and that open interest. So all good stuff.
Let me see. I'm sort of talked right over you, Matt, when I asked you, hey, Matt, could you take a look at VGX and tell me what you think? And then I never let you finish. So do you, I mean, like I said, this currency, this token traded over 7 in that last week of February, traded all the way down to break 6, you know, just 3 days later, and now has moved back up, traded 7, I think, yesterday, and is trying to flirt back and forth with the 7 level right here. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I think I'm bullish on VGX. Full disclosure, I do hold a pretty good amount, but I just, in combination with the news-related events of the conference call last night, the metrics that Steve Ehrlich put out, and just the technicals, the way it's looking now, I think if Bitcoin does break that 50K level, it tends to bring kind of all the ships with it. So I do think that if that happens, VGX is well postured to break above this 7.13 level. And from there, there really isn't much upward resistance other than this Bollinger Band. So I do think that VGX is nicely positioned to keep climbing. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen as new users are onboarded onto Voyager, get off that wait list, and start funding their accounts. And one thing that CJ and I talk about a lot is the token efficiency of Voyager, which is essentially the rate at which users that are using the Voyager exchange purchase the Voyager token. And there seems to be a good relationship between the two. So yeah, in my opinion, there's good reason to be bullish on VGX right now.
Voyager stock, by the way, is up 6% today. Recent bump after the last earnings call yesterday. And yeah, Monty, to your points about VGX and potential predictions, I always look at things like Huobi token, Binance coin. I think Binance coin has gotten a little ahead of itself now with all the innovative things CZ has been doing over there. But Huobi token, you know, market cap of roughly $4 or $5 billion. VGX is still only about 1.2. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see another 3x over the course of the remainder of the bull market from our current point. So interesting stuff with VGX, but I mean, man, we've already gone up so much, like probably 5,000% within the last 2 months. I'm not kidding.
Well, and it's pretty unique too. And this is not just us talking up Voyager folks, but Binance that Matt mentioned just a minute ago, their token, they're not a publicly traded company. Voyager is a publicly traded company that also has it's a publicly traded brokerage for crypto, and it has its own token. So there's not another comp that I see out there, guys. Obviously, Coinbase talked about it in their S1. They talked about we may issue a coin, you know, and they're a U.S. regulated entity. So, you know, there are some issues with that. But I agree. I think having a publicly traded stock, which is listed up in Canada, trades OTC here, and has $1.5 billion in its token is rather unique. And I think when Voyager gets that New York state approval, because New York is one of the toughest, if not the toughest of all of the states to be registered in, folks. So when they get that, not only do you get a big population center, but that means they have massive exposure for all these accounts. And hopefully it comes shortly after they're able to onboard all these accounts that they've had to put the brakes on because they were growing so fast. That's a nice problem to have.
Absolutely. And if we go back to the tokenomics, like it's always just about incentivizing customer loyalty is really a great benefit for Voyager, having the Voyager token. Also, it's a great marketing tool for them, being able to have a cryptocurrency being on the top 100 assets on CoinMarketCap. To your point about Coinbase having a cryptocurrency, John, I think they acquired Circle, which is responsible for USDC. So I do think they do get a good amount of benefits from that stable coin. But as terms of like having an asset that fluctuates in value, yeah, I don't see Coinbase coming out with anything comparable to the Voyager token.
Cool. Thank you, CJ. Well, Matt, we probably need to need to do some trades, need to stack some stats.
Time to start stacking.
Yep. But folks, we appreciate you joining us. We hope you come back each day because this is a free broadcast, the Daily Crypto Byte. He's Matt Montemeyer, and we've got CJ Reichel. They're the guys that put up and manage the chat room as well as putting up the charts and all that. And for the short term, you can still join for $1 for the first month, $1. So if you want to see if you could pick out something that you could make money on from what these guys are trading, as well as everybody in the room, right? Mm-hmm. All the folks in the room are able to talk back and forth through the chat. So if you want to check that out, just go to marketrebellion.com/try crypto for $1, and you can see exactly how much value there is there. And then if it goes after that first month you want to renew, it's $29.95, I think, right, guys? $29.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Voyager. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching.